Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Weekly Hope. It's Kirsten Hagland here and my unofficial co-host of the show, Lady Elsa. We're happy to have you with us this week for our first of two episodes. Actually, we've got an episode today as well as an episode on Friday. So stay tuned to the end of the show to hear more about that. But we're very, very glad to have you here. So if it's your first time joining us, just a little bit about the show. So Weekly Hope, we started back in about May, end of May, and we're an interview series with experts, professionals, clinicians, advocates, people with recovery stories, people working in nonprofits, just a wide range of different folks we like to have on here from the field of eating disorders and, of course, mental health more broadly to talk about what they're doing, raise interesting and engaging topics. If they've got a campaign, we want to share it. If they've got a book, we want to promote it. If we've got a controversial issue that we want to talk about and address, and of course bring you in on, that's what we're all about. So if you're joining us again, if you are a recurring visitor, welcome. It's great to have you back, and just want to emphasize before we bring on our guests that this is a very, very conversational, informal dialogue. What makes this so special about being on Facebook Live is that we get to include you in this conversation. So as you join us, say hello, leave your name and where you're signing in from in the comments. We always love to see where people are signing in from because we usually get viewers from all over the world. So it's always really nice to see where people are joining us from. And I'll put up that reminder again throughout the show as well, and inviting people to let us know where they're signing in from and tell us their name. And also throughout the broadcast, as you have questions, comments, thoughts, whatever it may be, whatever's on your heart, please share them. I will be able to see them all as we're going through and bring up a question. If it's relevant and important, then we'll make sure that we get that to our guest. And just because we want to make this about you and make sure that we're getting you the information that you want to hear, and also give the opportunity to really take advantage of having such incredible guests like we have. We have just really, really cool people with amazing areas of insight and wisdom. And this is your opportunity to ask them questions. So don't be shy. Feel free to at any time. Make sure you raise your hand, type in your question, and we will make sure that it is heard. So without further ado, I want to introduce and welcome our guest. First, I will bring her on screen. There is Miss Christie Dondero, Bettwy or Bettwy?
It's really dealer's choice, whatever you want to say. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm in a German-speaking country, and we pronounce W's as V's. So my first inclination is to say Bettwy, but is that right?
That'll do, sure.
Okay. I was looking at it and practicing it for today, and I realized I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm sorry. But Christie is joining us from Washington, D.C. She is the executive director of Rock Recovery, and we are very, very glad to have her on here. Thank you, Christie, for joining us.
Thanks, Kirsten. So glad to be here.
Yeah. So first of all, why don't you tell us first a little bit about Rock Recovery and what your role is there?
Sure. So Rock Recovery is a DC-based nonprofit. I'm the executive director, and we basically help people overcome disordered eating by combining clinical care and community support. So we do a lot of outpatient programming for adults with eating disorders and families to offer support, including group meals, group therapy sessions, chaplaincy, mentorship, and really all the things that people need in that outpatient space. And then we do a lot of workshops, community events. We even do fun runs, different church workshops for people, and try to meet people where they are in the community to get them the tools they need to get better themselves if they're struggling with disordered eating, or to help a loved one who they might know who's struggling.
Gotcha. And as long as I have known you, you've been at Rock Recovery, and I know how much you love it. And your spirit is so much a part of that place and all the work that they do. What led you into the field to begin with, and how long have you been at Rock Recovery?
Yeah, great questions. So what led me into the field is my own personal story of recovery. Over 10 years ago, I recovered from my eating disorder and started treatment. And actually, I started treatment in 2007, and then I've been better now for a little less than 10 years, I suppose. But my personal story was one where I actually fell into recovery. I didn't realize I had an eating disorder. I thought I was like every woman that I knew who didn't like their body, who felt like food was bad or good and had to fit this list and count their calories and do all these things. And eventually I realized I actually had an eating disorder and needed to get help. So once I got better, I became very passionate about helping people in our society understand this is robbing our lives and our joy and our health, even though society can normalize disordered eating. So that made me passionate. And then the other piece was my lovely parents could afford the treatment that I needed and were able to put money in my account and get me in my clinical appointments and all the things that I needed. But I met a lot of people whose family couldn't do it themselves. So I decided, well, someone should do something to help. And I started doing some research and found Rock Recovery back in 2010. They'd just been founded a year earlier. And I came up to DC. I lived in North Carolina at the time, came to DC for a wedding, met the founder at Panera in Arlington, Virginia. We were holding hands and praying within about like 3 minutes. And I just knew I had to work with Rock Recovery.
Oh my gosh. That's such a cool story. I realized I never heard exactly how you got there. And so that is just really, really neat. And you do such amazing work there. And I'm wondering, living in Washington, D.C. and having this center, and we'll talk a little bit about an actual center that now you guys are going to be exciting to open soon, but we'll talk about that at the end. Being in Washington, D.C. and our nation's capital, it's kind of like New York. It's one of those cities, it's a metropolis, but it's very cosmopolitan, it's very transparent. I mean, millions of young people that are moving there constantly. It's very busy. There's a lot of pressure. It's very, very intense. Do you think from your work that there's a higher prevalence of eating disorders and a higher need for care in larger cities like where you are?
Oh, that's such a good question. My husband always makes fun of me. He's like, everywhere you go, all you see are eating disorders. And I'm always like, it's because they're everywhere, Ryan. You understand? I do think there's something about the city and the types of people cities do draw in. As we know, there is some personality characteristics, especially for people with anorexia, with like the type A, the driven, the perfectionistic. And the cool thing about being in DC is almost everyone here is super passionate and super smart and super intimidating. And that can be an intense environment to be thrown into. And we've even seen, so we run 2 different weekly recovery programs, one in Arlington, Virginia, just a couple miles outside of DC, and one in DC. And we even find a different clientele just a few miles across the river, and the other ones are in DC. So I think there is a little bit of something going on with that drivenness and the different pressures people might feel.
Yeah. And actually, a question that is very interesting to me because I, for a long time, and still I'm very interested in politics. I think it's fascinating. But given the political climate right now, have you seen an uptick in admissions or people seeking help? I mean,
what a good question. Yes and no. It's always kind of hard to tell where we get what causes the upticks, because there can be people who kind of come in swings and then it's silent for a week or so. So I do think a lot of trauma is being stirred up in the current political environment, and people are having conversations that weren't had before, and different things can be stirring that up for people. So because of that, there might be more people reaching out for help or needing more help as well.
Yeah, interesting. I just asked that purely out of interest because obviously as someone who works in the field, and so you're seeing that, I go, gosh, I wonder if that's having an effect, especially in DC where everyone is bombarded by politics all the time. Maybe don't have the same escape that other people do.
Yeah, exactly. I know it is a different little world to live in over here.
Yeah. So, all right. So you guys are doing something really, really exciting coming up this Saturday. And it's a whole campaign in accordance with National Cupcake Day. So tell us a little bit about the campaign and how it started.
Sure. So the campaign is called Help Them Eat Cake, which we thought was super clever. And it all came about because we were thinking, gosh, for us, people who have been there, who have recovered, who understand what it's like to struggle with an eating disorder, we sort of get it, but so much of our world doesn't understand what it's like to struggle. They have empathy, but they don't get it. They don't know what to do. And one day a client came into our group with this huge smile on her face, and she was so excited. And we were like, oh my gosh, what happened? Why are you so excited? And she said, you guys, I ate my kid's birthday cake for the first time ever this past weekend. And it was the first year that, people weren't making comments to her, like, why aren't you eating the cake? That she got to sit down with her son and enjoy a cupcake with them. And we realized we're helping people eat cake. Like, it's actually a big deal, and it can sound so trivial. basically we're helping people engage fully in their lives, and food's a big part of life. So we decided, what could we do to kind of showcase these stories and the healing that happens? And we decided National Cupcake Day is a great way to do it. So we're having this campaign called Help Them Eat Cake, where we're asking people to take a picture of themselves enjoying a cupcake, or make a donation to Rock Recovery to help us help more people eat cake.
I love that. And I just want to let everyone know that I posted a link to and more information about it, as well as I'm going to right now too put a link in the comments section to information about how you can get involved. And of course, Rock Recovery is a nonprofit. I want to stress that. And so this is a campaign to raise money and donations to help them do the work that they do to raise awareness and obviously to treat. So the two links are right there in the comments section. So about this, so there's a social media element to this. People can take a picture of themselves enjoying a cupcake. They can tag you. What's happening with all that as well?
So we're basically just trying to help spread the word that all foods fit. As I'm sure you know, people have these huge beliefs in our culture that you're only safe if you don't eat sugar, or you don't eat this, or you don't do that, and you stay away from these certain foods. And we think that healthy eating includes all foods, and especially cupcakes, right? Like, that's a big part of life. So kind of the hope is that as we share these pictures and stories and you tag Rock Recovery, so we can sort of start a movement, people will start to see, oh yeah, it is important that we can eat cupcakes and all foods fit, and I'm not better if I do or don't eat one, right? So never no better or no worse. So you can tag Rock Recovery, Instagram handles Rock Recovery, and then Facebook, I think it's Rock Recovery ED.
Yeah, okay.
You can have that too. Yeah.
It's at Rock Recovery is on Twitter, right?
Yes, I should know these things. I have my lovely other millennial employee who does all of our social media. So shout out to Kristen.
Oh, and she does a great job, by the way.
Didn't she? She's great. Yeah.
Yeah, she does. And you guys should definitely follow Rock Recovery on social media, because on Twitter and on Instagram and Facebook, because they're always posting really amazing articles. They're very, very interactive, super hopeful messages always, and just like really, really positive. If you're one of those people that likes to follow and is intentional about following pro-recovery, very positive accounts, they're definitely ones to follow. So I'm just going to put that up on the screen there. So let's just talk about all foods fit for a moment, because this is something that, I mean, it's so intuitive to me. It's very intuitive to people in the field. But for people who have never encountered someone with an eating disorder, their initial
not knowing they encountered somebody, because surely they have, right? But yeah, not knowing.
And I just want to pause for a second and say, I see we've gotten some new viewers, and I just want to let you know at any time, please say hello, leave your name and where you're signing in from in the comments. And if you have a question at any time, just jump in and ask it so we can talk about it. But I find that there's a lot of, and I hesitate to use the word ignorance because it's kind of not the nicest word, but people think, well, we have an obesity crisis, okay? We have, children growing up, they're so unhealthy, and, we need stricter school guidelines on what our children can eat. And of course, sugar is bad for you. And why should we be encouraging people to eat cupcakes? Like, obviously to us, that's like, but that is something that I hear all the time. What is the argument for all foods fit?
My biggest argument for that would be that we are whole people. So we show up, health isn't just about what we put in our mouths. It's about how we spend our days, how we use our bodies, the other things that happen. So the idea that, body, mind, spirit, I'm a big believer that we're this 3-part whole. And so to remember the relational value and the relational damage that happens when we avoid certain foods or praise certain foods is a part of that health. So the idea that all foods fit to me means that, like, you can fully live your life and be around all foods and not be controlled by them anymore. And even people who haven't struggled with eating disorders, I think, understand what it is to say, oh, I feel so bad about myself because I ate this, or I feel so good about myself because I didn't eat this, right? So there is some normalization that I think we can all understand. But really all foods fit matters because for a lot of us, if we restrict, it can kind of cause binging. And so if we have this yes, no in our heads, it becomes a really unhealthy cycle. Whereas if you let yourself have a cupcake, you might just have one and you wouldn't need to have a binge or too many that your body doesn't actually want, right?
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good, important, and good and important reminder. Because as soon as your body starts restricting something, then your craving for it grows, right? And it's a whole psychological battle, and it's one of the reasons why dieting in so many cases doesn't work, because people restrict, and so then not only is their body deficient and is crying out for food, then at the end of a diet, or when they lose whatever amount of weight they feel like they needed to lose. But then also psychologically, you're like, oh my gosh, you want to then eat everything. I mean, and that's just what your mind does. And actually, I've read that that has to do with our biology over thousands of years, that back when we were hunter-gatherers, you had to, when you had quantity, you had to eat as much as possible, because then you didn't know how much, if you were going to have scarcity. So it's almost a biological thing.
Right.
But if we, and you don't feel deprived, and so you don't feel like that cupcake or pizza or whatever triggering kind of food it is has power over you, you have power over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I want to just mention, we've got some people saying hello. Denise is joining us again. Hey, Denise, it's so good to see you. Hi, can we post a photo even if we are not from the US? Absolutely. Absolutely. Go for it. Yes. We should call it International Cupcake Day. I just realized.
Yeah, we should. You're right. Oh, of course. That's a great question. Sorry, I just realized what the question was about. Of course. Yeah, we should call it International Cupcake Day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Denise. Post it. Go out there, grab a cupcake or some other sweet that's meaningful to you, but cupcakes are awesome. Yeah. So go out there, grab a cupcake, and of course tag Rock Recovery and post a picture of yourself enjoying it, and you can absolutely participate. To the website that I put in the comments there, and I'll give you more information about how to get in touch with Rock Recovery on social media. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, Sarah says hello from Seattle. Hi, Sarah. Welcome. So glad you're here. And then Becca's joining us from South Dakota. Welcome, Becca. Great to see you. Okay, so all foods fit. Very, very important message. And you know what, Christy, I'll tell you, speaking of, because you're in DC, just about that attitude from people that eating disorders and the obesity epidemic can't coexist. I will tell you, some of the most disappointing experiences I've had have been lobbying Congress in Washington, DC, and meeting with senators and congressmen and women in their offices and saying, oh, we have an obesity problem in my district. We're not possibly going to support eating disorders legislation. We have an obesity problem. Some of the ignorance really does come from our lawmakers, and that's something, though, I will say that is changing slowly, very, very slowly. But it is. I just want to share this from Sarah. She says, I used to hoard food, get it if it looks good, but might not eat it. Now I am having a cupcake.
Yay!
That's awesome, Sarah. Congratulations. Hashtag EdRecovery, even just a bite. That's amazing. And I think it's so important too about this campaign too, and you said it in the verbiage on the website, but that every little step like this is a victory, and we should celebrate it. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And it's those things that seem insurmountable. When I think about our client eating that cupcake, it was a really big deal for her and her family, and a really great thing to celebrate. And we always encourage our clients, and my lovely psychologist, when I was going through treatment, always encouraged me, like, take advantage of celebrating the baby steps. No step is too small, like, be grateful. And because they really do build on each other, and it really is what you need to get to recovery, is one small step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will emphasize the importance of community in that too. Like you talked about, your therapist too helped you with that. And it's one of the reasons why I think it's so cool that you're doing this on social media, because if it's just you getting that cupcake, you're like, all right, yay. But totally. When you post it or you see other people posting, it can make you feel like you are a part of something bigger than yourself, and that you really are experiencing a community atmosphere, and you get that support. And I'd
say too, I didn't always share my story as I was going through recovery. I think some people do, some people don't. There's different appropriate ways to do it depending on what people need for boundaries and safety. But once I was really getting on the road to recovery, I started sharing with a few safe people. And now that I mean, it's my job, it's my life, you know, I'm like the poster child for this. Sometimes I say, I share it all the time. And even I am always shocked at how many people come out of the woodwork and write me a note on Facebook or say, oh my gosh, me too. I had no idea you struggled in college. I was right there with you. And it's really encouraging to see that we're not alone, and that the more we use our voice to share these vulnerable things in appropriate ways, it encourages other people too.
Yeah.
It helps us feel alone.
Yeah. I feel the exact same way too every time I share my story, and it really is. You realize it's a lot more of a service to other people than it is just like, I'm going to share my story kind of thing. Like it's not about you. It's about the people that it helps. Right. And I just want to encourage anyone, if you're watching and the idea of eating a cupcake on Saturday terrifies you, I just want to encourage you to maybe take this opportunity to step outside your comfort zone and do it this time. Because you have the built-in support, you have the opportunity, you have the chance to be with other people doing it and celebrating it, and maybe take the steps now to put in place a support team of people to call or to help you through this. But I encourage you to take a leap of faith and take this time to really do it. And Sarah Glover, I just put her comment up there on the screen. She says, one bite at a time. Amen, sister. So just want to encourage anyone new who's coming on, pop in, say hello, tell us your name and where you're signing in from. We'd love to hear from you. So Christie, kind of transitioning to how this plays into the holiday season. So obviously National Cupcake Day, December 15th, Christmas or Hanukkah is happening. Oh, Christie just went away. That was very strange. Wait, she's back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
It's okay, you're back.
We're reunited. My internet got angry and then it came back on, but here we are. Sorry.
No, I was just saying about, National Cupcake Day is December 15th, this Saturday. Holidays are right around the corner, holidays on, and Christmas coming up, New Year's. And this is a time when maybe someone is looking at Saturday and they feel like they can't eat a cupcake because there's so many other sweets that are happening around this time, and everywhere they go there's chocolates and Christmas biscuits, and they're overwhelmed by the stimulation of food and are just paralyzed by fear. I remember that feeling very, very well, very, very well. Maybe let's start with what was helpful for you during your recovery, working through the holiday season, because I remember some very, very specific things that my therapist worked with me on that were very helpful. But what about you? What was helpful for you during the holiday season?
There were three main things. And the first one kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier with community, was sort of having the buddy system in place. So accountability for me was really helpful to either encourage me if I was thinking about staying home from a party because I was scared of the food, either telling the friend who was going to the party and having them kind of be by my side and help me navigate it, or having someone check in with me when I got home. That sort of thing was really helpful for me, just so I knew I wasn't alone. I felt supported, but I also knew I was accountable to somebody. And that was a huge, huge help for me, which was just nice to know I wasn't alone and nice to know someone else had my back. That was really helpful.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, totally. I just wanted to make sure. I found this really great. Hanukkah ended Monday, Becca Joyce. Let me know. Thank you so much. I appreciate you're updating me on that. So I've got a article here in the comments, baking and recovery. I found that, and I think that might be helpful if someone does enjoy baking. And then we've got another one that I just want to post in the comments section here. Another article about renegotiating binge foods, because there can be a lot of, especially if someone's in recovery from binge eating disorder or bulimia, it can be very, very difficult to escape trigger foods. binge foods during the holiday season. One thing that was always very, very helpful for me, and I still take it to this day, even if it's just about other things I get in my head about, but when going to social events, my therapist told me to focus on relationships, not the food. Because I was going there just completely preoccupied with what I was going to eat, when I was going to eat, what was going to be offered, if I was going to like it, if, just completely focused on the food rather than who's going to be at the party, who do I want to connect with, being present in conversations, actually looking someone in the eyes when I'm having a conversation, not having eyes dart around the room or your mind going somewhere else, actually focusing on the conversation. And that helped enormously. And I still use that today if I'm having anxiety about something else or there's something else that's stressing me out or whatever, to like really be present with the people in front of me. And maybe pick one or two people that I say, hey, I want to go to this event and I really want to see them. I want to catch up with them. I want to hear about their life. I want to tell them about mine. And to make the relationships the focus of the event and not the food. And that was something that was always really, really helpful for me. The other thing was to difficulty with how would you, or what advice would you give to people who are going into family situations with food? Well, obviously every family situation around the holidays is going to involve food, but family members who can be toxic. Because sometimes we have to go to events or be around people we can't choose to just leave or not go. And they might have, no understanding of an eating disorder. They might make difficult kinds of comments like, oh, you look so healthy. Or even worse, make some kind of comment about their weight gain. How in the world do people, especially in the early stages of recovery, how do you counsel them to stay strong throughout that process?
I think the empathy work, my psychologist helped with a lot of this too during my recovery. She would say, just remember that everyone's doing the best they can and everyone you encounter is not healthy around food. So trying to have grace for people and realize I can't control them. I can't change what they think or what they say, but I can believe truth. And I really think through the healing work that I did with my therapist and with my community and with my faith and all those things, like I believed that I was seeking what was good and true, and that a lot of other people who might say unhelpful things, they might have other influences from culture or other unhealthy influences that might keep them from believing what is good and true. So that helped me a lot to have empathy and realize they're doing the best they can. They're not trying to make my life miserable, but I can believe what's true and I can't force others to do it.
Yeah. It can be really, really difficult to have compassion and empathy for other people when they can just be so ridiculous.
I know. It's still hard, right? Even though we're recovered, I'm like, oh, people can still be annoying, myself included. But yeah, it's hard.
No, but but obviously it's true and important, even though it's hard. I'm just curious. So for the people that you work a way to contact the therapists that they see there, the treatment team that they have there throughout the holidays. What's kind of the protocol, for contacting a therapist during the holiday or having some kind of professional support throughout the season? Because obviously, people get time off and there's boundaries with who you can call and when and all that kind of stuff. How would you suggest people go about that? Because having a therapist on the other end of the line or something like that is could potentially be helpful.
Super helpful. Everyone does it differently, and I think, and I respect the way different therapists choose. I was just talking to one of our dietitians last week she went for a 30-minute walk and came back and had like 15 text messages from her clients. And she likes texting with them and it works for her, but it's a whole new day than when you started 10 years ago and you couldn't text people, right? So it's both good and bad that we are always accessible and always able to be reached. Even when we're walking our dogs. So unless you forget your cell phone out. So I think that just kind of depends on the person and what they prefer, but that's also why it helps to have peer support and clinical support happening at the same time, I would say, because your friends or your mentors can't be your therapist. They're not your experts, but they're people who are in your corner. And for our clients, we do a lot of group treatment and group recovery programs. And so oftentimes they reach out to each other during the tough times. So they have a text chain or they or like if they can't sleep at midnight, they're like, hey, is anybody up? Can you chat with me, pray with me, whatever. And that can be really helpful to have some of that peer support stuff, as long as it doesn't take a nosedive and turn into a negative spiral, right? But the idea of going for support.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we've had some new people sign on, and I just want to encourage you to pop in and say hello, let us know you're here, and we're wrapping up quickly here, so just want to make sure we get the last questions in if you have them. One more question before I ask you to talk about your special announcement, and that is that if someone finds themselves in the midst of a relapse or a slip up or whatever you want to call it, they're feeling like they're not doing as well in their recovery as they could be during the holiday season. And that can be brutal for your self-esteem, for your feeling of efficacy in recovery. You're feeling like you can do this. It can be really, really hard. So what words of encouragement can you give people if they're going through that, or if they're terrified of relapse during this season?
Yeah, I think if there already is a relapse that someone's experiencing, I mean, grace is available to us. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to do recovery perfectly. We don't have to do life perfectly. It's really good news. And so kind of being able to soften and experience some of that grace and not beat ourselves up when we aren't perfect is really helpful. And realizing, you learn through every hard turn and hard step we take. There's always a lesson, and there's always some growth that comes from it. So just because it feels like we took 2 steps back, it doesn't mean we're not taking 10 steps forward. And the other piece too, just to kind of help guard against relapse, one of the things that really helps me that my old friend always used to tell me was, especially during busy seasons like the holidays, is to think of our life like we want to stay within a speed limit. So you don't want to go 90 miles an hour and you don't want to go 10 miles an hour. So you want to kind of stay in that in-between zone. And some days you might need to slow down to 30, and some days you might need to speed up to 50. But with the things that we say yes to, with the commitments that we make, with the parties we go to, with the things that we take on, with the trips that we take, kind of realize, are we frantically saying yes out of FOMO or out of fear or out of something else? Or are we saying no to too many things out of fear, and we need to kind of speed up a little bit and engage in a few more things, but making sure we don't overwhelm or underwhelm ourselves, so that we have the right support, we have the right encouragement, and we don't isolate too much or get too frantic.
That's really good. No, that's really, really good advice. Thank you, Christie. So to wrap up here, you have a very special thing that's happening in the world of rock recovery, a special announcement to make, and I want you to tell us about it. So floor is yours.
Thanks, Kristen. Such a good cheerleader. I appreciate all your enthusiasm for us. So we are really excited. So next year, actually March 19th is our 10th anniversary as an organization, which is amazing. I can't believe we've made it this long. It's amazing. And last month, our typical recovery program that we've operated for almost since we started has always held a waiting list, and we've just served 100 people through, which has been incredible. But we just keep realizing there's a huge need in the community, and people need more than what we're currently providing. So a lovely donor and a few other lovely supporters came together to help us sign our first ever lease to open up a community center just across the river in Arlington, really close to DC, where we'll be able to sort of be this cornerstone of the community. And our hope is that, what I kind of keep saying is, people, if they're struggling or find out their loved one is struggling, they won't have to just go Google and panic and try to figure out what to do. They can come meet with us, sit with us, eat with us, pray with us, talk to us, whatever it might be. So we can help provide this outpatient for support for people, both with clinical experts and then peer support, mentors, chaplains, spiritual support, whatever people really need. So it's going to increase capacity by more than 80% to be able to serve people every week. And we'll get to serve about 50 clients a week instead of 20. Well, actually even more, like 75 a week. So we're really excited.
That's amazing. What's the date again?
Say that again?
What's the date again?
That we move in, our anniversary. So we're moving in slowly but surely. We need to get, office furniture, paint, do all that stuff. We'll move in January, and we'll officially open for our 10th anniversary on March 19th.
Wow, congratulations.
So come on over, girl. Come for the open house. You can come celebrate with us. But we're so excited.
Oh, that is so amazing. And I just want to, Joyce, Becca Joyce commented here on our conversation. She said, taking away the power I've given to food was one of the best things I learned in my fight against anorexia. That's amazing. Yes, you guys are both great. Well, we're not so great. We're just
Yeah, well, we think you're great too, though, so that's good. Yeah.
You are awesome, and your toes and that and your profile are adorable.
That's so cute.
Thank you, Becca, so much for sharing that. And I'm so, so happy to hear where you are. It's incredible. And I think she is an example, and we are both examples of the fact that you can survive this holiday season. You can survive also the couple weeks after it, which can also be hard.
Yeah.
And that you can take back the food. Okay. They don't have any power over you. Oh, I think I froze.
You're good. You're back.
Okay. And I had a really funny face on when I froze. But yeah, that you can take back the power from food. And I just think that we all need to be reminded of that. And I hope wherever you are listening out there to know that you are in control. The food is not. So Christie, thank you so, so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was such a joy. It was so fun.
Absolutely. And just want to, I'm going to put up here on the screen again, National Cupcake Day, December 15th. That is this Saturday. So prepare yourself. Follow Rock Recovery on all social media so that you can post a picture of yourself enjoying your cupcake and tag them and hashtag and help people to feel supported and know that really all foods fit and that they deserve joy. And if part of that joy is a cupcake, then you deserve it.
Yeah, great.
Right?
Indeed. Amen. Yes. Thanks,
cool.
Kristen.
You're welcome. Well, bye, Christie. We're going to say goodbye to Christie. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
All right, guys. Just want to say thank you so much. Remember, December 15th. That's this Saturday. Enjoy that. Go find a good cupcake spot. I know when I used to live in New York City, there was like literally a cupcake spot on every block. So you shouldn't be in shortage of finding one. But just want to say thank you so much for joining us. We've got another episode of Weekly Hope on Friday. We're also going to be talking a little bit more about the holidays with a clinician, talking to a dietitian about that. So some really specific nutrition recovery tips for the holidays. We can all use the support around this time, so feel free to join us then. That will be at 12 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, wherever you are in the world. And I see Sonia joining us there from Germany. Hello. Wherever you are, take care of yourself. You deserve happiness and joy. Just remember that. Enjoy your wonderful evening, and we will see you on Friday. All right. Ciao, everyone.